Photoshop has a really cool tool to allow the user to add natural motion to rasterize images. So we're dealing with a picture that's made up of pixels. It's rasterized. I'm going to use my monarch butterfly here. The tool is called Puppet Warp. And the Puppet Warp, closest thing I could relate it to maybe is a gradient mesh in Illustrator. What it will do is it'll allow a mesh overlay over this image to allow me to create a fluid type motion. So let's do this. So I have my monarch butterfly here. We need to first select the image layer that I want to apply this Puppet Warp to. So I have my layer selected, then I go under Image, then I go under Edit, and Puppet Warp. Select it. So you'll get this really interesting mesh overlay on the image. Up at the top we have our options for this Puppet Warp. And so the mode here, rigid, normal, distort. The density, I can have fewer points, which gives me a less dense grid, or I can do more points, which gives me even a more intense grid. I'm going to go to fewer points so you can see this a little bit easier now. With fewer points, it's going to be not as detailed of a motion movement. And my expansion, so I can expand or not as much, so we'll just do a little bit here. And we're going to make sure we show the mesh. You can turn that mesh off, but you want to see what's going on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to pin different areas. So I could pin here on this wing and then go back and select the pin. So do you see how the pinned area, I can move this pin while the other pin is staying in that location, and you can see how it's crunching it. Let's go ahead and add a few more pins. We'll pin this wing here, here, and here, and let's pin the body, and maybe right here. So now if I go back and drag this, see how I can distort this to make it look as though the butterfly's wings either compressed or extended or ready for flight. All kinds of really cool things. So it's a very much of a fluid, natural motion that I can apply. So I could bring, now remember, this is the end of my picture, so if I bring this in, I'm going to lose that. I probably have to do some cropping. But if I wanted to make it look like the wings were a little bit up, I could do that. And I can bring this one up a little bit, extend it out. So it's basically moving the pixels around, extending things. Get an error message here because I was trying to put a new pin actually by accident. Cannot add new pin because it's too close to the existing pin. So I'd have to have a higher density to be able to do that. Okay, we get that. So I accidentally missed my pin, and that's why it gave me that message. So this is a really cool thing. And so when I click OK to this, look what happened though. I did distort my original. It would have been a much better idea to work off of a copy of this layer, because now I have destroyed those original pixels. Unless I do an undo, I will not be able to go back and get them. But a really fun effect. So that's the Puppet Warp tool found under the Edit menu.